My fellow Americans, friends, neighbors, and guardians of what is good, thank you for being here. Before I speak about policy, politics, or campaigns, I want to begin where truth begins, with the word of our Lord. In the Gospel of Luke, Christ declares his mission plainly. He hath sent me to heal the brokenhearted, to preach deliverance to the captives, and recovering of sight to the blind, to set at liberty them that are bruised. Those words are unequivocally true, and were given to us not for our entertainment or flattery, but to be internalized and mandated for all to witness. They remind us that a society is judged not by its wealth or power, but by how it treats the vulnerable, the forgotten, and those who cannot defend themselves. And in Revelation, we are warned that corruption, exploitation, and the trafficking of human lives are among the sins that cry out before heaven. This warning was not a prophetic fallacy, but rather has arrived at our doorsteps, inserting itself into our shared reality. For it can be stated with a sense of moral certainty that a civilization that tolerates the buying, selling, or exploitation of human beings endangers its very soul. From the city streets to the suburbs, and from the Midwest to our seaboards, an ongoing epidemic has descended on the United States of America and its allies. These crimes have touched communities who once believed they were immune. What remains is a broken system, and more damning, a weary population, one that has been plagued with a sense of frustration, confusion, and struggle. For many, they are searching for answers, and for some, they are seeking restoration. But to all, it rests in the awareness that vigilance cannot be outsourced. As many people know, human trafficking thrives where poverty, addiction, exploitation, and indifference intersect. In order to confront this issue and eradicate its presence, it requires more of us. Outrage and social media platforms will not stop this filth from spreading. What is required is more than outrage. What is required is strategy, coordination, transparency, prevention, and sustained public resolve. It is from this responsibility and burden we all share that I speak. My conviction arises from the commitment I have, like many of you, have made to protect our homes, our lives, and our kids' lives from any form of threat that shows its head. Stemming from this commitment, I affirm that we owe it to our children, our neighborhoods, and our nation entirely to be awarded the necessary justice and due diligence in attacking this cancer from its source. No more shall this industrialized trafficking network be given the light of day. No more shall any government, institution, or organization enable, protect, facilitate, or cover up the act of trafficking, sexual blackmail, sexual abuse of children, sexual espionage, nefarious ritual, or any unlawful activity or exploitation. Consequences for such acts are clearly defined by the Lord Himself, saying, "Whoever causes one of these little ones who believe in me to stumble, it would be better for him to have a great millstone fastened around his neck and to be drowned in the depth of the sea." Moreover, in its place should be a shared vision to strengthen law enforcement partnerships, support victims with real pathways to healing, educate communities to recognize warning signs, and ensure that accountability and justice reign wherever the law is broken. This republic must always defend its people, its beliefs, and its heritage. It must tend to the family and assist in the most vulnerable. And above all, it must ensure her future with everything she has. And that future rests on one simple question: what are our intentions? If our intention is to leave this country stronger than we found it, then safeguarding order, dignity, and safety must remain a permanent commitment for each and every one of us, including our government. So, to my warriors, my patriots, my Americans, most importantly, to the steadfast guardians of this nation, those of you who stand resolute with me in this pivotal hour, for we confront not the specter of inevitable downfall, but the dawn of an unyielding awakening and reckoning. Why do empires, forged in the fires of ambition and resolve, eventually falter and fracture? Why do nations, once towering in their dominion, find themselves weakened and vulnerable to the very shadows they sought to banish? The answer lies in man's history, an unforgiving decree that when the immutable boundary between righteousness and corruption is allowed to erode, and when the elites presume to dictate whose humanity and whose human right is sacred and whose is expendable, and when dignity is demoted from an inalienable truth to a mere concession granted at him, then the gates of perdition swing wide, inviting chaos, corruption, and darkness to consume all. Behold, I point to you the evidence unfolding before us, now and unrelenting. The documents that just were released are 3 million pages of revelation, unredacted images of depravity, the individuals of victims stripped bare for the world to witness, while the architects of atrocity cower behind veils of censorship and evasion. This is no isolated scandal. There are more islands. It is rather the exposed nerve of a vast nefarious network, a malevolent syndicate called like a serpent in the underbelly of power, devoted to the systematic erosion of innocence, the perversion of influence, and the ultimate subjugation of the human spirit. Such decay is no more happenstance. It is a calculated siege waged across generations, across continents, across families. And these things are waged by those who exalt control, avarice, and vice above the divine spark of life, above the sanctity of our republic, and above the fragile hopes of our children and their future. They barter human souls as casually as they manipulate corridors of authority, commerce, and power, reveling as familial bonds shatter and as public faith disintegrates, as the very foundation of our union and our nation are auctioned off on profane altars. of expediency and betrayal of the highest degree. Let it be known that any and all government, and when governance itself abandons its solemn vow to safeguard the people, rather choosing its plunder and the worship of mammon over its protection of its citizens, it transforms itself from an ally to an adversary. And when this application of justice bends to favoritism in those who claim to be above the law, or when the fundamental virtues of truth have yielded to the manipulation and propaganda, or when the meek are forsaken to preserve the comfort of the mighty, the nation's core and its identity become desecrated and are hollowed out from within. And make no mistake, my fellow patriots, we are entrenched in that corrosion, witnessing its advance with every unchecked outrage. Yet to surrender to despondency would be an act of betrayal against our God, our hope, and our heritage. We did not claim this land through timidity or concession. Our fight and our struggle now to preserve the gift of providence has never been more evident. For our ancestors did not secure liberty through half-hearted bargains. Rather, they forged the greatest testament to human freedom by facing despotism head-on, declaring with an unshakable defiance, "Do not tread on me." That indomitable spirit still yet stings through you and me today with a vital force demanding activation. This crisis and our current state did not manifest from our excess of strength, but from our prolonged silence in the face of the intolerable, from tolerating what should have been intolerable, from allowing inertia to supplant courage and valor, where vacillation eclipsed certainty, and rationalisms to override decisive deeds. The era of political correctness and political repression and regression. And now, that era represents the catalyst and nudge for a change. Change in our attitudes, our values, our culture, and our mindset. The renewal we pursue is not a tepid plea for civility. It is a vehement crusade that we shall unearth every complicit figure, every facilitator, every bastion that harbored predators over the preyed upon. We shall compel the truth into the unforgiving glare of daylight, not through blind retribution, but with the precise, inexorable edge of equitable justice. The guardianship of the innocent, particularly of our youth, transcends mere policy, transcends party, transcends the tribalistic things that make up our lives. It is the paramount obligation of any civilization, of any family that is aspiring to endure, to build for the future. And when a society neglects that this imperative has forfeited its moral compass and has forfeited its claim to perpetuity. To those entrenched in authority, your era of concealment behind accolades and titles and obfuscations and reticence has expired. Accountability is not optional and encumbrance. It is the cornerstone of credibility. indulgence. It is the baseline of honor. Service is not a superficial gesture. It is the binding covenant you must uphold or face the judgment of posterity. To the resilient heart of America, the laborers, the nurturers, the guardians of honor, the faithful who awaken each dawn undeterred. Your articulation is a formidable arsenal. Your steadfast gaze upon injustice is a proclamation of conflict, and your devotion to veracity, to kinship, to the God ordained worth of every soul constitutes the unassailable bedrock upon which our republic must be reconstructed. Victory emerges not from amplified animosity, but from amplified devotion. It is a devotion to our population that is fierce enough to propel us into battle. Our devotion to our homeland, profound enough to warrant sacrifice, and a devotion to equity, unyielding enough to enforce it without reservation or remorse. Faith serves not as a crutch in this struggle, but as a forge tempering our resolve. The profound assurance that our liberties emanate from the divine rather than from mortal decree or assembly forms an impenetrable bulwark against the encroachments of malice. Ethical clarity is no luxury. It is our indestructible armament. Therefore, arise with the collective might of a populace rediscovering its essence. Confront the encroaching gloom with the assurance that it has not triumphed and never shall. Champion the young who merit shields, not exploitation. Uphold this republic, redeemed through the valor of generations past, who deemed it worthy of their utmost. This juncture marks not the terminus of our saga, but the ignition of resurgence. The Almighty has not forsaken us. He has equipped us for the fray. The Redeemer has not abandoned righteousness. He compels its pursuit. Our nation has not succumbed. She summons her descendants to rally. Thus, we advance, exposing falsehoods, challenging corruption, reforming structures, and reconstructing with unswerving, unshakable resolve and an integrity, a profound integrity, with an optimism that cannot be bent and cannot be broken. We stare and we defy the abyss. And in solidarity for our lineages, our convictions, our horizon, the sun will rise. We press onward, indomitable, unyielding, and triumphant. May divine providence illuminate our path, and may it reclaim and revitalize these United States of America in its fullest splendor. Lord, save the United States of America. Lord, heal the United States of America. God bless the United States of America. God bless the people of the United States of America.